down with OTC? Down with OTC. OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Hey, welcome to Sunday night. It is the roundtable exclusively here on the chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip right over here on the right or left, whichever side it comes across on the screen for you guys. We've got a great guest with us tonight. We're going to dig into Flare, Spark, and all the things going on over there on the Flare network. Guest Mickey B. Fresh.
Mickey B. Fresh. What's up, Mickey B. Fresh?
Welcome, guys. Great to be here with Chip and Jeff. I'm excited. My first time on the roundtable.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. As soon as we get through this, we'll talk about that. We have actually a good story about that. So
we have a great story. And our guests here tonight, as people are pouring in to hear what we have to say tonight, we're going to get ready to get started. What do you think right now?
Let's do it.
And now, the roundtable with Jeff and Chip on the chain.
Let's go, Mickey B. Fresh. So, Jeff, funny story about that. Mickey, we were going to have you on. I want to say it's probably like 8-9 months ago. I think it was last winter, maybe. And we said, all right, let's just have a little talk. So Jeff, Mickey, myself, we get on a call on Saturday night. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about on Sunday. We did an hour talk, and we're like, why the hell didn't we record that? And then Mickey had a bunch of things going on. Something happened, and he was unable to.
My dad was in the hospital.
Dad was in the hospital. I want to say that, but I'll just say this. Your dad was in the hospital, so obviously we never got to do the show. And, but yeah, that was a while ago. My gosh, it was a long time ago. But I want to welcome. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. So I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Obviously, we've got the one, the only Mickey B. Fresh. And he has been, if you guys don't know, he's got a fantastic YouTube channel. And even before the YouTube channel, he was an authority on a lot of different things, all things crypto XRP. Obviously, dug into the Flare, just hundreds of hours of research. Talked to the team over at Flare, talked to Hugo, and he's really got this thing down. And he put out one of the videos that really kind of helped me get a better understanding of what's going on. So we wanted to have him on and wanted to sort of like talk through it, get your questions, because I'm sure you might have a question about what the hell is Flare? What are the, when are we, what's the next step? When are the Spark tokens? How does this all work? And we'll jump into that.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack with Flare. So I just want to say that off the bat. It's a lot of information. So it's very difficult to understand right away. But luckily, we have a couple months leading up to Flare going live. So that's why now's the time to really learn and understand it. But basically, it's a utility fork of the XRP ledger. And it's there to unlock value of these other networks like Dogecoin, Litecoin, Stellar, and XRP. But one thing that's unique about Flare and XRP is there is a two-way bridge. So anything that's on the Flare network can come right over to the XRP ledger. So in that way, it is kind of like a sister network, a utility fork.
That's pretty cool. And it's another thing that's really brought a lot of utility to, leveraging the XRP ledger, but also too, so I guess one of the questions off the bat where I think maybe some of the confusion is when obviously people are wondering, like, when are my Spark tokens dropping, right? When is that going to happen, Mickey?
Well, they say Q2, so it's going to be May or June. Most likely, it's going to be around 6/11 because that's the 6 months since the snapshot. Mm-hmm. So that's when all the Spark tokens are going to have to be claimed by the XRP holders who held it on December 12th. So that's the 6-month date. So figure around that date is probably when they're going to launch. Right now, they're going through a security audit. So that's why they've been sort of quiet. So the whole network is going through a security audit. They haven't announced exactly which company is doing it, but it's a very big security firm. So that's good to know that the whole network's being, going through a security audit, smart contracts, the consensus, and the whole network itself.
Yeah, well, that's good to know that they're taking their doing their due diligence, from every perspective before they go live. Obviously, it's a very important project, a lot going on, with it as they are the connector, and they're connecting all these different platforms. So, connecting Doge, connecting Ethereum, connecting XRP, connecting XLM. I mean, there's a lot going on. I'm excited to see what the real potential is going to be when it goes live, and there's actually some building going on right now. They're adding some of the partner rails. It looks like.
Yes. So every network that they connect to, basically, there's going to be validators on, say, the XRP ledger and also on the Flare network. And now that will happen to every network that's going to be coming over as an F asset. So what that does is it basically bootstraps the decentralization right out the gate. So the miners that are on the Litecoin network are also going to be, some of them are going to be validators on the Flare network. So that helps decentralize it using federated Byzantine agreement like the XRP ledger. So that's one thing that is nice to see. A lot of networks start out very centralized, and Flare will start out in a decentralized way. And also the tokens being distributed airdrop to all the XRP holders, it's going to be already distributed. And so having a network decentralized out of the gate is very rare. So that's one thing that Flare has an advantage. And they have all these communities right here when the network goes live. And mostly the XRP community was the focal point with the airdrop, but Doge community, Litecoin community, and Stellar, they're all very large communities, and we're all going to be one. And I think that's really good for crypto with all the tribalism. And I think hopefully this will bring, lower the tribalism and bring us together. And I think that's good for crypto in general.
Yeah, that's interesting. You bring that up. I don't see a lot of tribalism between XLM, XRP, Litecoin, and Doge, but there's a lot of tribalism coming from BTC maxis against each one of those communities. So maybe it takes a little getting together, like you said, which will help bring the entire community together and show, hey, look, we can bring these altcoin communities together to really make a big impact.
Well, eventually, Bitcoin is going to be one of the next ones that will come over. Since Bitcoin and Litecoin are basically very similar, it will be very easy to integrate Bitcoin. I think that's going to probably come after Flare goes live, and it will be up to the Spark holders, the governance, to vote and decide if they want Bitcoin to come over. But that will be a very interesting time, Jeff, if when Bitcoin comes and how that community reacts to it. And there will probably be some that will be, anti-Flare, and then some that will be open to it. And hopefully that will change, over time. And then we could all come together as, one crypto community instead of just Bitcoin and then everybody else.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, the funny part about it is I got into a conversation with somebody on Twitter the other day, which is, can you imagine a stock market that has one stock? There's only one stock. It's Apple or it's Microsoft. It's like, you go like, oh, that's silly. That might be the dumbest thing I ever heard, but that's what we employ basically in crypto. I wanted to ask you a quick question. So we're sitting out here, those of us that, are expecting the drop, right? The Spark token. Now, it's kind of a twofold question. First off, what do you think about the IOU trading on two of the exchanges out there on the Flare? What do you think about that?
I would be very careful with the IOUs because they're both different. And this is important to understand. So on Bitrue, the IOUs, if you buy an IOU from Bitrue, you're going to get a 1-for-1 amount of that IOU. If you buy on Poloniex, the IOU, you're only going to get 15% of that IOU at launch. So that's why there's a difference in the prices. So the Poloniex IOU represents the whole distribution of the Spark token. So that's why there's a price difference. And then overall, with the IOUs, they have no utility. They have no network. They're just a futures contract of receiving Spark. So Bitrue, you receive 1-for-1. Poloniex, you're only going to get 15%. So if you bought 100,000 Spark on Poloniex, you're going to get 15% at the launch, and the rest will come over 2 to 3 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way they did the airdrop.
Yeah, so the second part of that is, okay, great. I can't wait for the airdrop. I know they're going to give you, the first one's going to be like roughly 15%, right? So you're going to get it in troughs over the course of what could be maybe 3 years from what I'm hearing, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah, whenever they're going to launch it. Now, what do I do with this? So I get the Spark token, and I guess that's a question everybody has. They're like excited about it. Yeah, this is exciting, but what's the next step? Like, what will people be able to do on the network itself with their Spark token? How would that work?
Okay, so there's two things. The Spark token is a very interesting token because it comes with these two detachable votes. One is a governance vote that's separate from the token, and the other one is called the FTSO vote, which stands for Flare Time Series Oracle. So you could delegate this vote to a signal provider who provides price feeds to the Flare Time Series Oracle. And you earn rewards in Spark for delegating that vote. And what's the best thing about this is you don't have to give up ownership of your Spark token. So you delegate this vote right from your wallet to a signal provider, and then you earn the rewards that get generated from the Flare Time Series Oracle. So instead of rewards going to miners or to proof of stake validators, they go to the signal providers who provide price feeds. And by you delegating your vote, you're giving them more votes in the Flare Time Series Oracle, and then you earn those inflation rewards. So that's how you participate at no risk.
And what would some of those rewards be? Like, for example, you're participating like a signal provider, like who would that be? Like an example of a company, a name. Who would that be, and what are they doing?
So Toa Labs is one. ftso.eu, Flare Fusion, Scandi nodes, and expect many of the exchanges to also be signal providers. So what they're doing is providing price feeds for XRP to USD, LTC to USD, and then Spark to XRP, because what they're doing is providing price feeds for the collateral that has to back the F assets that come over. So like Litecoin, FXRP, and this is a way to decentralize price feeds right on the network.
I think, I think what people, could potentially get confused with is, the full functionality and utility. So, what would the purpose of all of that be? I mean, if you're, it's almost as though you're staking your asset, and you're gaining,
well, you're not
you're gaining an interest. I know you're not staking it, but that would essentially be what you're doing. I mean, you're not doing, that's the easiest way to explain it. I would think, by giving up your voting right, it's like staking, like you're earning an interest. They're using your voting for another purpose, and that's where it gets a little confusing, because we haven't seen the full functionality of these smart contracts roll out yet, which will be utilized, I think, a lot more extensively in business and agreements as things are built on and utilize smart contracts, especially if they pass the legal tests. Right now a smart contract isn't legally binding.
But the Oracle system is really at the heart of why you're delegating a vote. Most networks, they need to go outside the network to get price feeds. So now you'll have decentralized price feeds on the network that all these smart contracts can interact with. So you'll actually be able to delegate your vote and stake your Spark token simultaneously and earn in two ways.
You can do both.
You could do both because it's detachable from your actual token. And this should be able to be done all from your Flare wallet, but we have not yet had the information on the Flare wallet. Toho Labs, who is backed by Ripple and funded by them, is building that. So we have not yet seen the functionality of exactly how to delegate and how to delegate our governance vote and how to delegate our Flare time series Oracle vote. And also those signal providers are going to take a percentage of the rewards that are earned. And those rewards are earned in Spark. So as you earn Spark, then you'll have more votes to delegate. So it'll just keep compounding. And that is the inflation. But the inflation's going to those who participate. And you participate at no risk.
Right. It's really a great thing. Hey, a big shout out to Notorious XRP, Big 589. He says, buckle up. And I think that's very appropriate because it's about to get crazy up in here, man. It's going to get nuts after a while, I would imagine. 2021 is going to be a pretty interesting year, and I think it'll be much better than 2020 in a lot of ways, especially in the crypto ways. But I think it'll certainly be a lot better. So do you imagine, too, that these signal providers, do you think that because there's a bunch of them and you're basically delegating your vote, you see a little bit of there might be some sort of noodling for someone trying to get a little bit more here and there, a little bit better, be very competitive? Or do you think they'll all get together and say, try to keep it sort of the same? Do you think they'll be competitive in nature?
I think it will be competitive. Now, Flare Networks Limited, who is building the Flare network, is also going to be a participant. So I think they're going to make it a dynamic, competitive ecosystem and spread out the votes. But I think it is going to get competitive to where it also depends on which signal provider is the most accurate, what commission fee they take. And some exchanges might just say, hey, stake your Spark with us and we'll do everything and we'll pay you just the yield. But you might not get as much a yield as if you did it yourself. So there'll be plenty of options for different people, but I do think it will be a competitive marketplace. And I think they'll build business models on top of these since they have the price feeds coming in with their algorithms. It'll get competitive.
Yeah, so here's a question here for you from Rob McDermott. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that. Mickey, if you created a path forward, you've earned our respect and trust. Tell me, how can I benefit you while also benefiting myself. I am all ears.
If you created a path forward, you earn respect and trust. He's talking about the signal provider?
That's a good question, Rob. Give us a little more clarity on what your thing is. Are you talking about like how do both of us, like how does everybody benefit? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm not 100% quite understand the question either. How can you benefit while I'm also benefiting myself? So I think
Is there a way to do that?
Is there a way to? Yeah, it sounds to me like he's talking about how do we all benefit from the process, which you kind of elaborated a little bit on, but maybe I'm missing that. Rob, just follow it up with a little bit of more clarity there.
Because you don't have to trust the signal providers in the sense that you're not giving them actual value. You're not giving them your token. So that you could hold. So you're just trusting them to provide a accurate price feed. And now if they don't fall within that 50%, then they don't earn the rewards. Therefore, you don't earn the rewards. So you could split your votes. You don't have to just go with one signal provider. You could put maybe 10% with that one, 20% with this one. You know, the foundation's also going to be involved too. So we got to see how that's going to play out. They're going to be run by the community, so they won't have any power really. They can't earn any money. That's going to be interesting. And the whole governance side is another fascinating thing, the way they do the liquid democracy. We could talk about that later because that kind of ties into the political too.
Interesting.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot going on within the space as you're talking about as we're progressing towards DeFi. Man, I mean it's exciting because there's a lot of different DeFi projects popping up. There has to be at some point a good understanding of how, I would say like certain standard operating procedures within a DeFi space to rein it in, so it's not completely Wild West.
Exactly.
But I see that Flare is kind of progressing and moving in that direction where they're trying to really encompass what could be within DeFi, encompass, what they can get, like as you'd mentioned, from these different communities. And there's just so much more. Chip and I talk about this a lot in terms of, the direction the space is moving in. We're kind of leaving, we're departing the proof concept and the recognition concept that the digital asset space, crypto space is actually going to be here for the long term. All of us here as kind of early adopters from an investment perspective. So a lot of us obviously care about the investment part of this. But when we're talking about Flare, we're talking about a project that's got immense legs to it. I mean, as it moves and progresses into business, I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of what can be accomplished with it. We just haven't gotten to that point yet to see a proper development, whether even with Ethereum, I mean, you start seeing the, possible, the potential, but everyone's more focused on, how do we earn money? But it's really, how does this project actually advance and become a real solution to a problem out there? So that's really the core point of it. As you've done your due diligence and research on it, do you see this as a true solution to an existing problem, or do you see it that it's still trying to research and look for a problem?
No, that's a great point you bring up. I do see it as a real solution because DeFi is just the first use case that's really being used on it. But from the words of the CEO of Flare said, Flare Network is built for institutional use. So everything from supply chain to trade finance can be built on the Flare network using smart contracts without those high gas fees. So I think that's really a big value proposition where you could have retail DeFi and then institutional use cases with privacy on the same network using the same smart contracts, because it's using Ethereum standard contracts without those high gas fees. So basically, it's a platform to build all these different applications. So Flare is just the infrastructure level, and then it's all the applications that are going to be built on top. Say it be energy trading, say it be supply chain tracking. All those things could be built on top, but Flare itself is just providing the layer 1 infrastructure to do all that. And by having the Oracle system in the mix, you could create all different cool financial products because the price feeds are in the network already. You don't got to reach outside the network. And that's one of the main problems with Ethereum and other smart contract platforms.
That's good. So here, Rob McDermott responded, and he was saying, yes, to my point there, that's how I see it. But his question was, how do I support the growth and the solution? How can he get actively involved? Is there something at this point, to be involved in this stage of it, other than just being from an investment perspective, just holding the assets?
Well, yes, when the network goes live. So like physically right now, there's nothing we could do. But when Flare goes live in May or June, then you'll be able to delegate your Flare time series Oracle vote. You'll be able to stake your Flare token in the F-Asset system. You'll be able to vote with your governance vote. And you could do all this trustlessly. So that's something that's, I think, a big value proposition because it's going to be very low risk. And you could participate, but there's nothing you could do right now. Unfortunately, the network's not live. We kind of just got to wait at the moment, but the information will be coming out as we get closer to launch and they go through the security audit. We'll get more information of exactly how you could support the Flare network with your Spark token.
And now here's something that Chip and I had been looking into yesterday. So we're digging into the Zinfin, and we're looking at XDC, and we're looking at the XDC validators. Mm-hmm. And we said, hey, this is a great project. Obviously, Michael Otto was saying that it looked like I had an XDC smile on my face earlier, and that might be because XDC is currently at 3.5 cents. So it's come up a little bit again. So we're all happy about that. But the point there is we're looking into, could we set up an XDC validator? And one of the prerequisites is that you need to put in 10 million XDC. So we backworked it. Now, if XDC falls back in value, maybe, the price point will come down. But at current value yesterday, which wasn't 3.5 cents yet, we were looking at, it was close because we were looking at over $30,000 investment in XDC in order to put it on the validator to start the process. Is there a way that you've seen, and this goes back, to Rob also, in terms of other ways, is there a way to set up, you said there isn't a validator per se, but is there a way for someone to go in and say, hey, I want to create and set up a validator on the project to help with this process?
Yes, you can set up a validator. I would DM the Flare networks on Twitter, and you can set up a validator. You can earn certain fees, like the gas fees for setting up a validator, but it's not going to be as profitable because they don't earn the rewards like on those other networks. Where with Flare, everyone's going to have the opportunity to stake their Spark tokens and earn XRP, Litecoin, Doge, whoever brings over those other assets. But on Flare, it's just set up differently where the validators are not really going to earn the big amounts of money. It's more going to be the Spark owners and the F-Asset owners who are going to be rewarded the most, more so than the validators. But you can set one up. I would contact Flare Networks because you can set up a validator. It's just not going to be as profitable as, say, something like XDC, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering if we had any more questions. I know some people had some questions early on. So, guys, throw your questions in there. We'll put them up.
There's one right there. Bill. You want to read that one?
Go ahead and take it. Go ahead and take it, Jeff.
Does each F asset have their own liquidity pools, or are they all combined? Speaking of the question.
How does the liquidity pool affect the Spark price, or does the trading of the Spark affect the price? Okay, so the F assets have rewards pools. So they're not liquidity pools, they're rewards pools. Mm-hmm. So XRP, Doge, and Stellar have their own rewards pool. So once you bring over and you mint F version of XRP, Doge, or Stellar, you earn daily Spark rewards that will be dropped to you from one rewards pool. And then Litecoin has its own rewards pool because it was second. And that will come out of there. And they haven't said the rate yet, but the general rewards pool is going to have, think of it like a mini escrow that gets distributed to the F asset owners every day just for owning F assets. That's to incentivize people to bring their XRP, their Doge, their Litecoin, their Stellar onto Flare. So you'll earn, it's the whispers are like 0.2% of 25 to 30 billion Spark per day. So it's going to be very high in the beginning because they're going to want to incentivize people to bring over. So just to clear that up, they're rewards pools, not liquidity pools.
Okay, got it.
All right.
That's good to know. Good to know. Good to know.
So here's something that I wanted to go back and talk about, and you know, Chip had asked you about the IOUs. There's obviously a word of caution based on the difference in the valuation between Poloniex and BitTrue, but I think we need to take it a step further because right now Flare, which will eventually be Spark, as it sits as an IOU, I was trying to look it up right now, but I wasn't able to pull it up. I think the last I looked, it was sitting at like 60 or 70 cents. What happens when this actually launches, goes live, and it's not 60 or 70 cents? I mean, what now? People are buying an IOU on it. What if it's a penny?
Well, the
or
IOU
5 cents.
The IOU, I believe, you turn in for Spark. So I don't think the IOUs will be trading when Spark goes live.
I get that, but right now, let's say the valuation, you're buying an IOU for a Spark for 70 cents. So I assume that's how the IOU is trading on there. But if that's the case, then what happens? You know, what happens when Spark goes live? We don't know what it's going to open at.
We don't.
So it opens at 5 cents, opens at a penny, opens at less than a penny.
We don't know.
Then you have a lot of individuals that are potentially trading those IOUs at 70 cents. What happens to those? So you're basically getting one for one your IOU to your Spark, because right now I look at, you know, on the BitTrue, I had some XRP on there that I now see the reflection as a flare, which is a representative of the amount of XRP that I would have had, or the amount of Spark that I would get from the XRP held. Now I can go and trade that, but who's buying? I just don't. You know, that's just an area of confusion.
Yeah, it's not something, to be honest with you, I'm looking to do. I'm not even sure that the U.S. can actually buy the IOUs.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It's something I'll be very careful with because we don't know what the Spark price is going to be at launch. It could be totally different than this IOU. So it's a very risky thing, and I would tell everyone just to be careful. It's not financial advice, but be very careful with the IOUs. It's really not a token.
It's a fantasy world is what it is. It's like living in fantasy world, because the fantasy world I live in right now, XRP is $1,672. That's not the real price. It's just the price I made up in my head. So I live in fantasy world thinking that that's the real price. Man, it's a real dangerous game. I think you're underplaying it a little bit, but man, that is crazy dangerous. Hey, I wanted to get this question here from XRP. I don't know what that says. Thanks. It says, will future flare drops be given a set value? Will Spark be at current market price when distributed? So that's kind of what everyone's wondering, because in the U.S., you know that if whatever the set price is, if it drops at, let's just say 50 cents, right? Probably not going to happen, but let's suppose it 15%, and you got a pretty big bag. You owe taxes on that immediately because it has that value to it. So how do you think that's going to...
It has zero monetary value when you get it.
When you get it.
It's zero.
Okay,
so no monetary value.
Okay, so it has zero monetary value, and you're basically just using that to delegate a vote and then acquire more, right? Is that pretty much it, to where there will be some sort of value?
Yes. Well, also, it's going to be the collateral that backs the F assets that are brought on. So 2.5 times the value of Spark has to be used as collateral to back all the FXRP, all the FXLM, all the FLTC, all the F Doge. So as more F assets get brought on, more Spark has to be staked. and staked as collateral. So that's going to lock up more of the supply, and therefore it's not going to be on the exchanges. So that should theoretically raise the value of it. But you don't get it at a market price. Like there's no set. The market will set the price. So the exchanges, there'll be major arbitrage going on between Coinbase and Binance. But technically, it comes to you at 0, 0. Technically, there's no ICO or anything like that.
We'll have to see how that's handled. Even at zero value, the government can still argue from a taxation perspective, depending on the amount of time it goes up, that you still got something of value. Now it's gone up in value. Who knows how they're going to handle that? We see, the government seems to be getting a lot more interrogative in the digital asset space. The one thing, if you pull up your 2020 tax form, there is a question: have you bought or sold cryptocurrency in 2020? Just a checkbox, yes or no. The objective there is to say yes. I would assume, right? But they're obviously looking, and they want to know more information. As they're learning about this space, this is definitely something to bring to your accountant and CPA, because even if it comes as a zero value, that's something I would, want to have a CPA and look at and say, okay, here's what it is, and be comfortable in what you do.
Well, there's also going to be the distribution every month, though. That is unclear. How, for 2 years you're going to get your 3%, because you're only at 15% at launch, and then you're going to get a roughly 3% every month for 2 to 3 years. How is that going to work? I don't know. If that's going to be taxed or not, I have no idea on that.
It's almost more airdrop. I mean, you're getting something. If it comes to you with value, you're getting something of value. So but that's another question for the CPA.
Because you could tell them, well, technically they gave it to me all at once, but they're just allocating it for 2 years. How is that?
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not an accountant, so
no.
That's a tough question.
Question for the CPA once we get it.
Yeah, and the Congress really needs to pass legislation so that this is all clear. I mean, really, it's very difficult to understand, that's on the tax side.
Yeah, well, that's it. And the IRS doesn't understand it either. Okay. The SEC doesn't understand it. Obviously, they're all kind of tripping over their shoelaces trying to figure things out here.
This is a good question from Ray.
Yep. Don't count on Congress, and don't count on. Do not count on enforcement, mom. By the way, I've stripped her of her title. I had her hand in her crypto mom card. She's now called enforcement mom. She masquerades as a fun little mom that talks about all kinds of fun things about what they're going to do in a perfect world. But you know what? All they do is enforcement these days. So she's been stripped. Her new name is enforcement mom. Crypto mom will give it back her card when she proves that crypto part's kind of like,
I agree.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, hey, I want to just give a quick shout out to Reg Mabry, big supporter here of the channel, always throwing us some support with some great questions. Here's another one here. Can Spark be declared a security? Howie Test, I am scared.
Well, nobody's investing any money. So
right. That's the thing.
Declared a security when there's no investment contract. It's being airdropped for free. So they said that it went through all the compliance, and free airdrops can't be securities. I don't know how you could claim that's an investment contract.
Depends if you're the SEC or not. Then everything's a security, and everyone's in trouble.
Everything's an investment contract.
And then enforcement mom's on top of you. I want to put this question up here. This is another one. So I see this question.
Sorry.
That's the third time. Here you go. Sorry. Immortal Souls. One more time. Why not? Do it 6 more times. I'm still confused about the Spark token being sent to us and an Ethereum address on the ledger Nano S. So a lot of people have said that. Like, why do I have to hook it up to an Ethereum address? Which you have a Nano and you're waiting for it. What's going on there? Could you explain that a little bit?
So the Flare network uses the Ethereum virtual machine. So they use the same type of addresses, but there is going to be a second step once Flare network goes live. So that's why they want you to send it to an Ethereum address. We just don't know that second step yet. So once that comes, then you'll be able to point it to where it needs to go on the Flare network. That's why, because they use the same style addresses, but they're not on
Gotcha.
Ethereum mainnet. So it's the same.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, Mickey, I was reading on Celsius. They had a little segment going through and explaining that as well. And like you said, they said it's an Ethereum type address, but you can send it to an Ethereum address that's already in existence, but they did have a word of caution. But they said when this goes live, there will be Flare wallets. They read their recommendation that Celsius had written up, and I'm not sure if that came directly from Flare or not, but and it might, I believe it did, was to use the Flare wallet, because if you do put it on an Ethereum a wallet, then somehow it's connecting all of your, it's connecting everything, because it'll tie back into the XRPL and it'll somehow connect your XRP to your Spark, to your Ethereum. I didn't dig in a little bit further, but I guess the point is that it does, it seems like there's going to be a Flare wallet when this all launches.
Exactly. Yeah, I would not tie it to an existing one. I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. Yes. I think Toho Labs is the one who's building that. That's what Hugo keeps saying, the integration side. So basically, we need like a Flare version of MetaMask for Flare.
Yeah.
That's
that'd be very cool.
Use. It's like a Web3 wallet, call it.
I like that. That'd be a great idea.
By the way, David Moturo says the Starlink launch was aborted, so that was supposed to happen. Guess it didn't happen. That's that Starlink. I'm looking forward to that. I think that might be actually pretty cool for
that one going to Mars.
No, I think that's the Starlink. That's like where they're going to connect.
No, they're just launching more satellites.
Well, yeah, they landed.
They're already going around, right?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them up there.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. Does Mickey B work for Flare?
No,
he doesn't. He does not
work for Flare.
Just knows a lot about it, man.
I just been researching it before. They've been building this thing for 3 years, so
right. That's what's amazing about it. I remember doing the first story when we first heard about it. I said, I think this is going to be pretty interesting. It's like, and then all of a sudden it was like they announced it and it went silent for a while. I was like, and then like about maybe 9-10 months later, it sort of came back on the scene. But I was like, am I crazy? Whatever happened to this Flare thing? But yeah, there's a lot going into this thing, and I think I think it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to from the DeFi side, because the DeFi are they're kind of a little bit, we have they have that sort of like, we're kind of a special sort of a brand of people. We're the elites. Hello, we're the DeFi people. You know what I mean? They're like,
they do parade around like that,
don't they, Jeff? It's like kind of like they're like do they prance around and stuff. And you're like, oh no, it's a special group of people, and then they have their own sort of like little clique, and the DeFi space is going to blow up. I mean, it's going to get to the point where, and I think you said it perfect the other, a little bit earlier, Mick. You said that it's just right now, kind of like just scratching the surface where we're going, finding use case right now, right? Where are some things? What do you anticipate like coming down the road? Like, what do you see in the future based on what you've researched so far?
Once we get tokenization and we get actually other assets that could be brought on to blockchains and used as collateral, I think that's when the possibilities are endless. Like when you could bring on tokenized real estate and other tokenized commodities, and now you start using those in the DeFi products in a more compliant way. And I also think adding like pay string addresses and digital identities to our wallets will allow us to then do more of the financial activities that we're used to in traditional markets. And that's the next thing I think that's coming with the credentials and stuff like that. But tokenization is really going to be the next, I think, amplifier for DeFi, because we're just like in like the early days. Think of like Bitcoin in 2010, 2011. DeFi's just still getting going. And Ethereum's, in my opinion, is not going to be their public network is not going to be the standard. That's just where it started, but their smart contracts are kind of the standard. So that's one thing that Flare has going for it. The gas fees are going to be very low, which is going to be nice. And then once we see institutional DeFi then soon.
Yeah, and again, Jeff brought this up earlier, but I mean, it's only been recently that you could do an e-sign that's been legally binding, but they're going to have to make the smart contract. They're going to have to do some legislation because again, what I love about smart contract is how many, all the trigger points you can set up, and you can have oracles going off chain to get to, if this happens, there's a lot of cool triggers you get set up along the way that really are not possible with like standard paper contracts. And in the beginning, they might just be enhancers for what we currently have, because we always go legacy. It's like, well, let's take this principle, but the real value of smart contracts, really, you could say, okay, you could split up the three, paying people or certain things happen. But for business, I think it's going to become the standard. It's going to become phenomenal 100%. For business.
I agree. Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just a quick Apex here is asking anyone else doing the Flare Finance open beta next week, next Sunday roundtable. We're going to have Channing Smithson on, and we're going to be digging into the Flare Finance, because it is important to understand that Flare Network is different from Flare Finance, two different organizations. Yep. They just happen to be using the same name. So we'll dig into what that is next week. I also want to give a quick shout out to everybody that's on here. There's 482 people listening right now and watching from YouTube, from Twitter, potentially from Facebook. But what would be great from Twitch as well. If you're brand new to the show, to On the Chain, do us a favor and click the subscribe button. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. That way you get obviously subscribe to the channel, but you want to make sure that you also hit the bell notifier, because when you do that, then you get notified every time we get ready to go live and post a live video. One other thing, we actually have 2 channels and a podcast. And Chip might throw in into the comments there, might throw an easy link to get to our podcast, as well as going over to the other channel. If you guys can do us a favor, those are short form videos. They're like 10, 15 minutes long. We get right into the subject matter. We don't have a timer or anything like that, which we do on the live stream. So definitely recommend that you guys go check that out. And then we also would like you to go check out Mickey B. Fresh, because he's on YouTube, he's on Twitter, and he also has a website, which is the DeFiStandard.com. All of this stuff is in the description below. But make sure you go follow Mickey B. Fresh. He's awesome. Has some great content in print, on YouTube, and on Twitter. So.
Yeah, also too, I want to drop in Mickey's Patreon. That's where you guys can go over there and really help support him. So this is Mickey's Patreon. Go support him over there. Again, he's a valuable member of the community. It's really awesome to have him on tonight. So I say it's our second attempt, so it was very good.
Yes.
But you can check that out too. And again, because there were some people early, Mickey, you probably didn't see this in here, but some people early were like, hey, how do we support Mickey B. Fresh? And here it is right here. You go right to his Patreon, just like that, and he's got a couple different levels. There's the Clubhouse, there's the Telegram group, and then there's Live with Mickey. That one's sold out, but Ben, you can just $3 or $5 a month, and it does help. So anyway, I wanted to say that because I know we saw a lot of people early saying, how do we support him? That's one of the ways. Also, go over to his YouTube channel. And Jeff, I don't know that I put his stuff in the description. I might have to go take care of that now. Sorry about that, Mickey. I was like rushing to get that thing live, but I'll definitely make sure I get that up there. I'll put your Patreon and all that good stuff in there. So while we do this,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll make sure we get all that out there. Obviously, we're not done yet, so I wanted to get some shout outs there. There are some other questions. We actually have an On the Chain sponsored meetup that's going to be coming up here. I was waiting on Chip to give us a designated date. We're looking at the end of March. I'm not sure if you got the clarification on it.
I had to clear it with the First Lady, Jeff. The First Lady and I haven't had a chance to
do that.
To discuss this important matter at heart, because
everybody put a little pressure on Chip to.
She sets the social calendar, and the First Lady is like, all important. So I got to run it back by the First Lady, see what her thoughts are. Because sometimes I'll be like, I'm doing this. She's like, oh no, don't you remember we have that? I'm like, no, I don't remember. So it's important that we get that thing all worked out.
There's the blog right there. We've got the DeFiStandard.com. So make sure you go check that out. And then here's another one. Let me throw in, Mickey, I'm going to throw in your Twitter as well. Here we go. So make sure you guys check that out, the website. And there's Mickey's Twitter. You can go check that out, and you can get everything right from there. You can go to his Patreon, his YouTube, the website. You get everything over there on Twitter. Make sure you guys subscribe to him. Anything else over here? I'm just looking through to see what kind of questions that we might have here. But what do you think, Mickey? Anything else that is like key right now that you found on Flare that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I think the governance structure, I think, is really interesting. How, compared to other networks, that everyone who's a Spark owner is like a citizen of the network. So you're going to have a vote on literally all the parameters of the network. Everyone will have the ability to vote directly or to delegate to somebody who's an expert on that specific detail. Say it's the parameter of raising or lowering the inflation rate. Every Spark owner can vote. Instead of just a federated small group of validators, we're all able to participate. And I think that's very interesting. And they call it liquid democracy. So instead of direct representation, we could vote, we could choose an expert to vote for this, or an expert to vote for us for that, or maybe we know how to vote and we're going to vote directly. And I think that's really the future of these decentralized networks and how they evolve. Like Bitcoin, for example, look, it's forked, how many? 100 times, where there's no governance structure. So the network can't enhance itself or add, for example, say a new quantum resistant algorithm comes out and want to implement that. The governance could put that right in and say they want to change the virtual machine or the different percentage of the rewards rate. We all decide that. And then we could discuss it as a community. And I think that's something that, where we're going in the future, instead of just miners deciding on, what happens and the networks getting forked.
That's a good point. Hey, put that back up, Jeff. This is important. I want to throw that out there. That was
there we go.
Sean Thompson. Hey, tell Mickey B I'm loving his contact. Remember him from Brad Kimes' show. And I remember you too. Mm-hmm. And that was when Brad, back in the day, it's so funny because, we know him from the live streams, mm-hmm. and then he's been doing a lot of uploaded content. So, mm-hmm. But you know what, that was I think probably one of the coolest things that came out of that too, was you starting your own channel and doing well with it and you have a voice, and it really deserved to be heard, to, put your spin on it and really kind of because you've always put great stuff out there. You've always found these gems, these hidden things, and Twitter, because guys, he's a must follow on Twitter as well. So it was kind of cool that you started your own channel. It's like, yeah, man, get out there and do your own channel, man.
I hesitated for a while. It took a long time, and then finally I just took the dive, and I was like, you know what? It's about time. So I'm excited about it, but I am all new to it, and the technical stuff I'm still getting used to. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad for the support, and having a good time. I enjoy being part of the community.
It's awesome.
It really is a fantastic community. But what I like too is in the interim of waiting for a lot of us came together on the whole principles and fundamentals of XRP. And along the way, we started embracing other projects, sharing this and sharing that. And I think it's really key too, because there are a lot of other cool projects out there. And I got to tell you, you go from just looking 3 years back or 4 or 5 years back, and you look till now, and you kind of look at the focus has really been on fundamentals. What problems being solved? What are they doing? What kind of partnerships? And it was like, for the longest time, it was just Ripple making all the partnerships. And then, slowly these other organizations started coming up, and you get a little bit friendly competition in there. I think it's been healthy for the whole ecosystem. And eventually the BTC maxis will come along, or they won't, or, we'll just have to do one of these in the eyes. But, do the Three Stooges thing, man. But, because you know what? I got to tell you, a lot of people, I've told the story, but I was a BTC maxi. It's how I came to the space. I owned Bitcoin before I owned anything else. It was in the hundreds of dollars. It's embarrassing to tell you that I got rid of my Bitcoin early. There was no precedent back then, I bought into the whole logic when I finally started looking at the altcoin market. I bought into the whole the Bitcoin, the BTC decentralized. The only one that's decentralized. It's XLM. Stellar's XLM, is decentralized, and XRP because of Ripple. And I was like, and after I started, it took me almost no time at all because I actually owned XLM before I owned XRP, right? So I owned a Stellar, and it was like, wait a minute, this is a bunch of it's like when you start doing your own research, you're like, okay, that didn't last long. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, it's interesting how you come into this space and like I came in and I went into like Litecoin first, and then I kind of skipped over Bitcoin. I don't know why. It was just, I looked into it for a couple months and I just went to Litecoin, and it wasn't soon after that I found XRP and really dove into it. And it took a couple of months to really understand XRP. And then I really got into all XRP. But then after a while, I started looking outside and saying, hey, it's not just all Ripple. This isn't just God's gift to the world and it's on a pedestal and it's going to be the global reserve currency, And as you see outside that, there are other projects and these infrastructure networks. I think there is going to be a consolidation, but we're starting to see more and more of the dApp tokens built on top of networks. So, for example, like Flare, there's going to be different tokens and projects built on top, but the underlying native crypto assets should have unique metrics to them, in my opinion, versus like the dApp tokens that don't have their own blockchains. And I hope maybe we'll see that one day, because right now you have things like Uniswap where that has billions of dollars in valuation, but it doesn't even have its own blockchain. So should that be compared to a network that has its own security and its own decentralization?
Like Quant?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's a good one. Hey, another quick question. Mickey, do we know whether or not signal providers can offer different or higher rewards as the ecosystem evolves? Could it make it a competitive ecosystem? I know we already talked about that, but I thought you'd get into it.
It's a good question. So with your Spark tokens, they're going to take a commission rate. So there'll be different fees for different signal providers. And that's really what it will come down to. And then there's also the accuracy, depending on how accurate they are to get through the Flare Time Series Oracle to earn the rewards.
That's going to be interesting.
It's really going to be a dynamic, competitive marketplace, but in a way, it's kind of a race to zero. It's going to be interesting to see how it develops. So we don't know. He makes it seem like some of the exchanges are going to be signal providers too. So how did Coinbase, and I think it's really interesting how so many exchanges jumped on board right at the end, right? And Coinbase bended the knee the last week and supported the Spark airdrop. And it was just really telling, which makes me think there's something in it for them. So they're probably going to offer services and products to their customers and then profit from them. That's my guess, but that's speculation still.
A big shout out to VAR 415 for the support. Also a question: can you explain the collateral?
Okay, all right. So typically, when assets are wrapped, you just lock them on one blockchain and you wrap it, and then you just bring it over to another one. With Flare, what they're doing to make it trustless, so XRP is going to be held on the XRP ledger, but the collateral, then it's going to be brought onto Flare as FXRP. But to make it trustless, the system puts up 2.5 times the value of that XRP in Spark. So you're always guaranteed to get your XRP back when you redeem it. And for whatever reason you can't, you'll get that value back in Spark plus compensation. So what the collateral is like a fail-safe. So that you're always able to redeem that value back. And that's what's really important about the system that makes it trustless. So those who do put up collateral earn a percentage of the fees that the originators pay for bringing their assets onto the Flare network. And that's what makes it trustless.
And you can't lose. I mean, it's a win-win, right? No matter what happens, you win. Yeah, it's a really phenomenally well thought out system. Hey, big shout out to David Maturo for the super sticker, and a reminder that I'm really one step away from living in that van, so I need some moon.
Are you going to keep the van with all the print on the side of it?
Living in a van down by the river. Yeah.
You want to customize it a little bit?
Yeah. It's we're always one step. Just be thankful for everything you get every day, and I got to say, what a pleasure. It's finally, Mickey B. Fresh. We had you on the round table, man. We'll have to get you on again. We have Channing Smithson coming in here next week to kind of like break down the whole thing about Flare Finance. We're going to jump into that. And weird question, was Decker a replicant? Anyway, yeah, he probably was. That's what I think. We're going to go back to, you know what that's from, right? Decker, replicant. Think about future. Aye, boys. You boys are too young for this stuff.
Sorry.
Harrison Ford.
Decker.
Is that a movie?
Oh boy. Yeah, it's a movie.
Decker.
No clue.
No idea.
Ridley Scott. Blade Runner. Anybody? You guys ever heard of Blade Runner? You ever watched that movie?
Oh, Blade. I watched.
Yeah, Blade Runner. So the whole idea
okay.
was the Harrison Ford character, was he a replicant himself? He was, right. That was.
Oh, that's right. He was in that movie. I don't even remember the movie.
I never saw the second
I remember the
version of
movie,
it,
but
though.
I don't remember.
You can always count on me or someone in the chat to totally derail the conversation. That's what you can get here, right? Mickey B. Fresh, what's your favorite band at the moment? Why don't we get into that?
I haven't been listening to music much lately. That's one thing. I just haven't.
Too much research. Like you're just deep down in it.
Yeah, I switched from listening to music to YouTube videos on crypto.
That's all I do is watch YouTube videos, man.
Sorry.
Not a replicant.
Oh, look. It looks like this. We got a challenge. Jeff watches Blade Runner. I'm unsubscribing.
Jeff, you have to watch Blade Runner, dude.
I'm going to do that right away.
Holy crap, we cannot lose anybody, dude. Hey, what about the Flare? What do you think what about Flare NFT?
Oh, that's a really cool topic. So, NFTs, I saw you guys were talking about the other day, and I watched the show on that. And NFTs are really going to be a big thing, but their problem on Ethereum, because you got to pay the gas fees, and look at Gala coming over. So we're going to start seeing a lot of NFTs on Flare because the gas fees are set by the governance and they're so low. So you're going to be able to do everything that you could do on Ethereum, everything on Flare with the low gas fees. Same smart contract, same everything. And look at Flare Finance. They started with the NFTs already, kind of giving out like the samurai rewards. And now we see Gala coming over. I think we're really just scratching the surface of NFTs too, because an NFT could also be, say, a what trade finance called? It could be like a letter of credit too, is an NFT. So an NFT could represent many different things. Right. Digital art is just one, but say a letter of credit technically is an NFT too, and it could be put on the blockchain. So that's really interesting where NFTs could go. Ethereum does have the standard. That's what it comes down to, too, is the ERC 721, I think, is the NFT standard. So that's another
That's
thing.
awesome. But Win also put that really cool thing out. Mm-hmm. That's coming. That's coming I have a feeling that's probably coming sooner than we think to the XRPL, because it makes more sense. It's going to bring a whole bunch of... Everyone's going to be like... at some point... Ethereum is going to become Bitcoin in the sense that they had a lot of the really strong ideas, but they just took a long time to figure stuff out and, get the new 2.0 rolled out, a lot of stuff like that. Jeff, you want to take that one?
Eventually. Yeah, there's another support from Matt Morrow. Check out this great comment, great question. Great show as always, guys, and thank you for all your help. Mickey, I'm a little slow with all the tech. Will we be able to keep our Spark tokens on the ledger and still delegate our tokens?
Good question.
That's a good question. It's a great question.
You'll be able to hold your private keys on your Nano ledger, and you'll have to hook it up to the Toho Labs app, and you'll be able to delegate your vote right from there. So you'll still be able to physically custody your private keys. Great. And earn. So I think that's like a huge value proposition.
Huge.
Because now there's no risk. I could hold them on cold storage, and I could earn more of them.
Sounds like a winning combination. Awesome. Then we have Noah Star. Thanks for the support. He says, you think it's better to wait for Flare to invest in NFTs?
I think it depends. I mean, if they could be moved over. I mean, if you're not getting killed with the gas fees, I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, I really can't. I don't know how to give advice on that. I mean, I would just be careful of what kind of gas fees you're going to pay when you buy that NFT, because it might cost you more in gas than it does for the NFT.
The space is confusing. Man, gas prices, and all these different.
It's a horrible name, gas fees.
I know.
Yeah,
I remember Third Base had that song out called Gas Face.
Gas Face.
Remember the gas face? It's like,
it
should be non-existent on Flare. Like, it shouldn't even be. It's like, think of an XRP transaction. Do you think of the fees you pay when you send one? No, right?
No.
So we're not going to be. It's only on Ethereum. It's a problem because the miners set the gas fees, where that's not going to be a case on Flare and many other networks.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, here's a simple, hopefully an easy answered question. On the chain, will everything on Flare be transacted in XRP?
It can all be moved. Any asset that's on Flare can be brought over to the XRP ledger, but it's not necessarily all going to be transacted in XRP. But anything on Flare could be just easily brought right onto the XRP ledger. And that's one thing that's really cool. But I don't know if it would all be transacted in XRP. I'm not sure what that means.
I think
FXRP will be probably the main F asset, since we're the ones who received, as XRP owners, the airdrop. We're going to be probably more likely to mint the F assets. So then compared to Doge, Litecoin, and Stellar. So probably you're going to see FXRP mostly used on Flare compared to. That's my guess when it goes live. So
yeah, I just wanted to I want to get a shout out to Dakota Shipley. I need a big support of the channel. It's good to see you in here live, because I know a lot of times you can't see us live, which is cool. Third base.
I like that. Hey, just one real quick. Got to acknowledge one thing. You ready?
Come on, man, Berserker.
See, when you get to the point of level like that, Mickey, when you get your own announcement, Berserker's in the chat too, Berserker. And Jeff's always says with a straight, he's always like, guys, I have to acknowledge one thing. I'm like, Jeff, what is it? What is it? Berserker. Look at this. Someone says, hey, Chip, looks like your right eye wants to go to bed while your left eye wants to stay awake and learn. That is true, because I've got a weird eye. Like, it's in the whole Chip family. By the way, the whole Chip family has this. It's a weird thing. It's like this eye's always like, and I sometimes have to it's like a lazy eye. I have to really work on that, man. And that's a great observation. One thing I can count on everybody here is for observations. So I'll be a little more.
Good observation.
I'm going to be a little more up and awake here, okay? So let me see.
There's some other good questions here that came in, like thoughts on the XRP debit card and all of that. Oh. Those are things I think we can even cover tomorrow, but I would love to hear, Mickey, what's your opinion on that debit card?
I thought that was a fascinating, really good, product that I think is going to be used. How they're able to do that in the US is great. See, that's where I think the exchanges should be heading, to be more like custodial wallets like that. Like Uphold, where they offer you products where you could earn XRP. That's an appealing product to many people. So it's great to see Greg Kidd and the whole Uphold team offering a product that's in demand. That's going to be a high demand. I'm sure there'll be a waiting list for that.
A waiting list. So listen, we always have to keep it. We're gonna have you back on if you're willing. We'll get you back on, because man, great to have you on the show finally. Big fan of your work. Followed you on Twitter for a damn long time. So finally we made it happen. The stars aligned. Planets were all doing their thing. And Ryan Lewis, go ahead and take that, Jeff.
Go ahead, you read it.
Are you guys ready to be on mainstream TV with your very own studio, film, and crew set? When crypto has mainstream adoption, it has weekly shows on TV. Hell yeah. Well, that was the whole idea of On the Chain when Jeff and I started. That's why we called it On the Chain. We want to be on blockchain. You got your boy Pomp. He's off the chain. That's cool. We like to live on the chain. We want everything decentralized. We want everything coming at you. We want everything on chain. We'll live our lives on the chain. Pomp can live off the chain. So there you go.
I like that.
You like that?
We live on the chain, man.
Yeah.
OTC. We love it. Thanks, Mickey, Jeff, and I think that's Chip. I don't know. You bang on my name. That's okay. Chip. Are you down with OTC? Hell yeah, Sean Thompson. We are down. Good time, says Lantern.
Can't even get through this stuff. Here we go. Mickey B. Do you see Flare Network becoming bigger? I saw this before. I meant to grab it earlier, but do you see it being bigger than XRPL in the future due to all the other coins being added? I mean, it's interesting.
It's an interesting question, but how I look at it is I think they're complementary networks. Flare is the data provisioning network, and the XRP ledger is the liquidity network. And the fact that they have the two-way bridge, you have all the decentralized data here, and then you have all the liquidity on the XRP ledger. But when you come down, I think they'll be, in a way, equal in that way. So as one grows, the other one's going to grow with it because they are attached. And we are, the XRP owners are going to be the Spark owners. So, but prices of coins, that's going to be interesting to see. Remember, the supply of Spark is going to be considerably less, the circulating supply, compared to XRP when it hits the market. So even if the prices are similar, there's going to be like a tenth of the supply of Spark initially. So it's going to, you might be like, oh my God, how are they the same price? But remember, there's only a tenth of the supply.
It's all about
XLM and XRP are vying for position.
James
pretty much the same price.
James M says, appreciate you all, and that's including all of us. So that's awesome, man.
Man, these are great, lot of great questions. I mean, we can keep digging in. We could probably be here for a lot longer. We normally keep this to an hour. I got to wrap this up with Apex because I think Apex has a good comment. You brought it up earlier.
That was a good one.
Hang on, where'd it go? Here it is. So Mickey said, or Apex saying on the chain, or Mickey, any insights as to why BTC isn't integrated with Flare yet? Seems like that should be a higher priority, and yet Doge. I'm confused.
Well, that's a really good question, actually. Well, to bring over BTC, which has the most value, I think that they are waiting on that because there's so much value that the system needs to be able to handle it. They needs to have enough collateral. So they're bringing over all these other communities first to get the network more decentralized and other communities together. And then Bitcoin comes. Because if you do Bitcoin first, now you have the biggest community and, the most risk. And I'm sure they've been running simulations with all this. Bitcoin's coming. But I think that they did it right by bringing over the smaller ones first. And then Bitcoin could come over. Because like Chip said, there's a lot of these Bitcoin maxis who are going to be hesitant. But if they see, hey, the Litecoin people are making money doing this, the Dogecoin is, then they'll be more likely to come over. So that's why I think they waited. But that is a priority, I think.
Yep. And hey, Chris, I think Chris had asked this one before, where I've seen this come up a couple times. I wanted to get to this one as well. But anybody who bought XRP after December 12th, will they get Flare? I believe that once that snapshot was done, December 12th, that's it. As long as you owned it up until that point, that's where the Spark distribution is based off of what your holdings were on the right exchanges during that time. Now, if you held it on a ledger, you have 6 months from the date of that snapshot from December 12th to actually connect your ledger to Flare in order to get your Spark token. However, if you allow those 6 months to lapse, even on the ledger, then I believe, based on what I've read, they're then going to burn that supply. So if you don't claim it, it gets burned. Is that accurate, Mickey?
Well, yes and no. So they were originally going to burn it, but now they're adding it to that rewards pool.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
so you are right. Really they did say they were going to burn it, but they changed that. And it's going to add it to the rewards pool. So it will be.
I like that. That's a much better thing.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll incentivize the F assets. Right now, there's something like 10 to 15 billion still unclaimed. So there's a lot out there.
Well, but I know somebody has to claim it. I'm not going to name anybody, but there might be somebody out there still that has to claim. I don't know what I keep waiting for, man. I got to get around to that at some point.
Do it
now. Till we're seniors, all right? We're not all growing older here.
Bizzap, you guys rock. There's so much to learn, so much to do.
Jeff, what happened to your mic? That got weird for a second. I thought you were a replicant for a second there.
I am a replicant.
Where's Jeff? Get our Jeff back here. My God. Sleepy-eyed Chip and replicant Jeff. I mean, what's going on? And then, of course, everyone wants to know, Mickey.
Hey,
Mickey Be Fresh. They want to know why aren't you showing your face? It's for privacy, man.
Yeah,
Listen, everyone deserves privacy, man.
Yeah, I don't want people asking about my eyes and stuff like that.
Not everyone's stupid enough to use their real name and go on to show their face.
Nobody asks about my eyes.
Yeah, I just it's going to be like this for a long time. I just enjoy my privacy.
No Star wants to know how to follow you. I'm going to put your Twitter in there again. Chip, did you update?
I did, man. I took care of it.
Is it in the description?
Hell yeah,
if you go
it
to
is.
The description. It's in the description. If you go check that link out, right, that I just put in there right now, click that. That'll bring you to Mickey B. Fresh's Twitter. From there, you can get his website, the DeFiStandard.com, his Patreon, his YouTube, and you could probably go to the description below and you'll get all that as well. So this has been an outstanding conversation. I believe everybody learned a ton tonight. We'll definitely look forward to having you back on again. I just want to let everybody know again, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not, you're already subscribed, hit that bell notification because that does help the channel. And go over, make sure you do us a favor and go check out Mickey B. Fresh and subscribe to all of his stuff as well, because this is a joint effort in order for us to all learn what's going on in this space. So
damn right it is.
Right? I think so.
Yep. Yeah, and then Mickey, I'll give you the final word here, and then stick around until after the outro.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. This is a great conversation, very enjoyable. You're great to talk to, and I'm glad to help with all the questions. And Jeff's absolutely right. It's a community effort to help understand and learn together, and that's why we're a community. And coming together like this and having discussions is great. And you guys are a lot of fun. I enjoy being on the roundtable. We'll definitely do this again.
We'll have you back on, man, and we'll make you wear a mask or something, or some like weird glasses, like one of those clown noses. So like you'll be on camera, but nobody will have any clue. Or you can wear some kiss makeup. You could be like the demon. We can have you on, and you'll pretend you're. You can pretend you're one of the kiss guys. Just in the crypto. It's like, hey, I'm really gonna flare, and put your tongue out and stuff. Gene Simmons. Well, yeah, we have Gene Be Fresh Simmons.
Isn't he on Twitter too? One of the guys.
He is. Yeah, we've been trying to get him on the show. I got one more person I'm gonna reach out to.
Yeah, we're gonna get him.
Oh, that'll be fun if you could get him on. That will be interesting for sure.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I would be fanboying out too much though. So
Oscar Marcin, thanks for the support. Great adventure, great group, fun times. Thanks, guys. Hey, you're awesome. And want to thank everybody for being on here with us on a Sunday evening. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over here, no longer. Now it's almost 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where a lot of you guys are tuning in from. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we know you guys tune in super late. We got people from all over the world. So it is outstanding. Remember, we're also streaming tomorrow night. So we have a lot more to cover Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single day other than Friday. So we'll check you guys out tomorrow night.
We'll see you on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.